adjust one single light. It's on a system. I can't adjust one single light.
We'll come back to order. We'll get started. I believe the SO managed to get everybody that was in the hallway at the time inside. Place is pretty full. A couple of comments, administrative comments, and what have you to make prior to us getting into the reason we're here. I want to welcome everybody to the September the 8th, 2018 public special meeting to determine whether the county will move forward with a formal notice of intent to affirm the existence of recreational customary use on private property. That's the purpose of that. I would also ask anybody that has any cell phones or other electronic devices to silence them at this time. If you feel you have to carry on a conversation with your neighbor, I would ask you to step out into the lobby so it doesn't disrupt the rest of the meeting. We do fully understand that this is a contentious and emotional issue, no matter which side you may be on. So I'm going to ask everybody to use the proper decorum and respect for opposing views. No hackling or catcalls from the audience. This is not the Senate. So we want everybody to hear, we want everybody to have the opportunity to voice their opinion, but we cannot afford to have a total disruption of this meeting. So please adhere to that. We will begin the County Commissioner's public hearing on whether to adopt a formal notice of intent to affirm the existence of recreational customary use on certain properties in Walton County, Florida. There is a preliminary issue that the board must address regarding a problem with the mail notice for today's hearing. Ms. Sidney, if you will, go from there.
Can everybody hear me? Okay, all right. Commissioners and members of the public, it came to our attention earlier this week that there was a notice problem with 13 of the approximately 1,000 pieces of beachfront property. Those 13 parcels of property, they're on the screen over here if you can see them. They're mostly condominium units. Those the individual owners within those pieces of property did not receive notice through certified mail. As many of you know, and I know as the commissioners know, under the process with House Bill 631, we were required to send notice by certified mail to the address listed on the property appraiser's website for the pieces of property where we sought a declaration of customary use. We thought that we had a mechanism to capture all of these condominium units. These condominiums, oftentimes they're common areas, don't have any ownership information associated with the common parcels, and that was the case for these 13. We thought we had a mechanism to capture everyone, and unfortunately these 13 slipped through. It represents a fraction of a percent of 1% of the pieces of beachfront property. But unfortunately, because of that notice issue, my recommendation to the board today, in consultation with Mr. Theriak, is that we go forward today and take public comments, and we hear from all of the people that are here today who've taken time out of their day to help us with this very important issue. But we stay here today, take public comments, and that the board take no formal action today, but we reschedule the hearing for 60 days out. A possible date would be November 3rd. And at that time, the board could proceed with taking the evidence that we planned on presenting today, and the board could vote at that time on the notice of intent on customary use. But because so many people are here today, and this is so important to all of you, I think that it would be positive and beneficial if we stayed and took public comment.
Thank you, Sid. Board got any comments?
I'd just like to say I know a lot of you came from a long distance, and it's very important to me that I hear what you have to say, so I totally agree with that. We want to make sure that we do the process very right, because if we end up in the Supreme Court, we want to make sure that we've done everything right. We want to win, so thank you very much.
I agree with Sydney. I think I look at the people in this room, and I think if you ask them to raise their hand who are from out of state right now, it might be more people than you would imagine. So I would like to hear what everybody has to say, and because we do need to do it right, hold another hearing to adopt on November the 13th, the 3rd, or as close to that as we could get. So I will make that in form of a motion.
Second. I'd like to speak.
Yeah.
I understand everyone is here. We do want to hear public comment, but because of it not being done right, I think we have a situation, and it may become, I'm not sure, a sunshine law violation, something that we don't have everyone publicly noticed. House Bill 631 on our website, Florida statute, all says everyone must be noticed. And when you go to the property appraiser's website, you can pull up the addresses. How this fell through the cracks, it did. But the situation we have now is this going to be challenged? And that's what worries me, to lengthen the process even worse. So that is my personal opinion, that this is going to make it worse if we move forward, that even though it's 13 parcels, of those 13 parcels, they're condominiums. 50, 60 people times 13 were not noticed. Even though it is a fraction, the law doesn't apply to fractions, it applies to black and white. The government entity must provide notice of the public hearing to the owner of each parcel. That's my opinion.
And I understand, say we're not voting today, we're just listening to people, and everything should be noticed and done right for the next meeting. And at that time, we'll take more testimony. We'll listen to, so that meeting will be done. We're just, to me, it's like if all these people were filling out affidavits like they're doing now. To me, it's the same thing. So anyway.
Commissioners, I'm sorry, just real briefly, and I might not have made this clear. So if we take public comment today and then postpone the decision on the notice of intent, we would renotice every single beachfront property owner. We would not miss any. So if you will give us 60 days to hold the second public hearing, at that time we will make sure everyone receives the proper notice before you move forward.
And is there an issue for 60 days? Will this still be the same board of county commissioners? Or?
It'll be the same board. It'll be on November the 3rd. The city board will be here.
Well, I've been torn up on this issue ever since I found out. My gut wants to go ahead and make a decision today, but after consulting with our attorneys, that might not be the best decision for us in the long run. We're at a place where we need to dot our I's and cross our T's. And through no fault of ours, we did what the law said. We used the property appraiser's list. Unfortunately, they didn't have all of it on there. So with a very, very sad heart, I have to agree that we probably need to wait. We don't want to wait. We don't want to do this. Get out 18 months, have the beaches reopen, and it go on appeal, and they don't even listen to it because we improperly noticed someone, whether we did it on purpose or it was an accident like this was. Still, people were not properly noticed. So I feel that in the long run, it's best for Walden County that we hold this public hearing, have everybody comment, pro and con, everybody that chooses to, and we proceed at a different date.
Okay, I think I got the consensus of the board. Go ahead, Matthews. Dana?
Mr. Chairman, Commission, Dana Matthews, local resident and lawyer and representing several property owners here. I don't have any problem with what I understand the sentiment to be today, but I want to make sure that it's clarified that the lawyers that are here that are representing private property owners have the opportunity to make their presentations at the next meeting after they hear the evidence that is going to be put on by the county. And I would like that to be part of your motion so that we don't have to do that today. We get to wait and do it after we hear the actual evidence that's presented to the county.
Well, as I understand it, the procedure on the second would be basically the same way it is today. We'd have Dr. Miller's presentation, Mr. Theriak, and then any other additional witnesses, and then the attorneys of record that's already talked with us would still have their opportunity at the next meeting also to put on it.
I just, again, I wanted to make sure it was part of the motion so there was no confusion for the record. Thank you.
And I will make that part of my motion.
And I'll make that part of my second.
Okay, I can't hear you out there, so
I just have
what is normally these attorneys going to come up here and speak? All we're trying to do is get a motion to move it to another day.
Okay, I was just, Mr. Matt just had a...
Sorry, you're out of line, please.
Mr. Matt, I was just going to ask clarification that for today's hearing, is this going to be evidence, or is this just going to be comments, or is this going to be used as evidence?
It's just going to be public comment. No evidence will be presented today.
Okay, so what is the purpose of today's meeting?
Because we got about 700 people in here that want the opportunity to speak, so we're going to give them the opportunity to speak.
Okay, I'm just because the statute provides that, we'll have a notice of intent for a hearing. I just want it for the clarity. Can any of this be used as part of the decision, whatever is today's comments? Is that going to be considered for the decision at the next meeting? Is what the comments that are going to be presented today, are those going to be used and as part of the decision that takes place at the next meeting?
I wouldn't think so. It may. It may have some influence, it may just be here.
Okay, well, that's my concern. What a lot of people have a lot of time, and I know we want to do it right, but the statute provides that there's 3 ways to provide notice, by certified mail, by internet, or by the newspaper. And it was just learned, I guess, recently that there was 13 associations that did not get noticed. It's my position, I believe that, from what I understand, there was 4,000 property owners that were noticed. And the statute says you can go forward with a hearing. Why don't we just go forward a hearing with those properties? And if there's any that are excluded, then we can have a second hearing. And then you can videotape it. You can provide a videotape copy to those people that say they weren't here, and have it go forward to a second hearing, so that the parcels that you're considering to include in the customary use, all those parcels that have been noticed correctly, you go forward with that and have the next hearing for the ones that were purportedly not noticed. That would be my...
All right, well, we discussed that. Thank you. We discussed that.
Okay.
Your name for the record?
Last couple of days.
My name?
Yes, sir. Your name for the record, please.
My name is Daniel Ufelder. I'm a resident of Walton County, and I'm an attorney for Florida Beaches for All. And I believe this meeting should go forward, and we should hear evidence.
So, just real briefly to address some of the concerns from all of you out there, if you got up today and gave us public comment, that has value. Even if the board does not take formal action today, you being here, filling out affidavits, giving us your public comment, that has value to us. So I don't want any of you to think that if we reschedule the notice of intent for 60 days, I don't want you to think that what you've done has no value. It does have a great deal of value. At this point, we have collected over 7,000 affidavits, largely to the efforts of the Florida Beaches for All group and people who have volunteered their time on weekends, late at nights. I mean, I've been overwhelmed by the response from all of you and the work that you've done. So if we have public comment today, it has value. I don't want you to think that that's not the case.
Mr. Ufelder, I'm not a lawyer and don't play one on TV, don't want to be. But I have watched enough lawyer shows to know that once something is said, it can't be retracted from a person's mind. So all comments, pro and con, in my mind, will be taken into consideration.
Mr. Chairman, David Theriak, in response to the let's proceed and just exclude the 13 folks, I wish I could do that with certainty that a person in a robe 12 months or 18 months from now disagrees with our approach and states the notice didn't say we were excluding 13. The notice said we were addressing everybody. So there is a potential that somebody who challenges what we're doing in circuit court would say our notice was insufficient. And even if we won at circuit court, there's a potential that an appellate court 18 months from now could say you failed to properly notice the proceeding because your notice didn't say that you were proceeding by excluding 13 parcels. And I can't give certainty to this board or to anybody in the audience that a person in a robe won't invalidate the notice of intent that the board ultimately adopts on a notice ground. So in an abundance of caution, we recommended that it would be better to bump 60 days for a formal decision to resolve a potential notice issue rather than having a notice issue lingering out there that, again, it could be 18 months down the road. After we've already won in circuit court on customary use, we're already in federal court litigating folks challenging us on the Fifth Amendment, that we then get some type of decision from left field that tells us that today and next November 3rd is a nullity because your notice was wrong. So it was our recommendation a 60-day bump was better than the risk of 18 months down the road. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I call for the question.
What was that? Call the question. Okay, I'm sorry, Ann, they called the question, and so we'll have to move forward on the vote. All right. Repeat your motion again so I'll make sure I understand it.
Dory, can you repeat my motion? Is to go ahead and take testimony today, or listen to, if you want to call it testimony, or listening to everyone who is here and wants to speak to us, and then we move forward to hold another hearing, which will be noticed to everyone, including the 13 that were not, on or about November the 3rd. That way, and we will make our decision at that time, and we'll hear testimony from the attorneys, our people and all at that time, but today just to hear from the people that are in this room that have come to do it.
Could you add to your motion or clarify that this is a public meeting? This is not the official meeting. We will redo the advertisement again. This is a public meeting today.
Yes.
And I second that.
Okay, got a motion, second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, see everybody? Aye, aye. Aye. So the next thing we're going to do then is open it up to public comment. Now, hang on a minute. Can I get a show of hands of anybody here that anticipates coming up here and making a public comment? If you will, throw your hand up. Okay. All right, there's, looks like maybe 25 or so. All right, well, in this case, thank you. Put your hands down. We'll set aside for 3 minutes per person. When you come forward, come to the podium, speak loudly enough into the mic so it's picked up. Identify yourself to the court reporter along with your address of where you live. We have to have a verbatim transcript of this, so keep in mind she's going to be able to hear what you're saying and the rest of the crowd. So, if you want to speak, we don't have a sign-in sheet, I don't believe. Since we don't have that, if you wish to make a public comment, I ask you to come on down here to the podium. The first one, whoever it is, wants to take the first shot. If everybody else will just stand at the corner of the chairs on either aisle, I'll just go backwards and forth to each aisle. So, there's a few people leaving. Let's give a few minutes and allow those who want to leave go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. If you will, please hold the chatter down, please. Ma'am, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Colleen Castile. I reside in Tallahassee, Florida at 3209 Adwood Drive. However, I and my husband and his siblings own a home here on Savelle Drive in Gulf Trace. I am...
Ma'am, could you spell your last name for the recorder, please?
C-A-S-T-I-L-L-E. I am a Florida resident, military brat, so I was born elsewhere and then moved here to Florida and have been here in Florida and have been a beach brat my entire life. I have been the former Secretary of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection from the years 2003 to 2007 under Jeb Bush. We have been involved in, as Secretary of the agency, we have been involved in protecting the public's right to access to the beach for decades. In 1968, the Constitution included a provision that made the public beaches public, and many cases have been heard all the way to the Supreme Court that have affirmed those decisions, all the way to the United States Supreme Court. So the idea that we would begin to take public beaches and to give them as private property is an absurd idea, and does not comport with the customary use of all beaches in Florida, all 1,100 miles of Florida beaches. It's unfortunate that our beautiful community of Walton County has been the ground zero for the private property owners' attempts to change this. But we urge you, and I'm a part of the group of the customary use, supporting the customary use, but we urge you to continue to make the decision and take the actions necessary to protect the public's right to the beach. We live in Gulf Trace community, and all but one owner who moved here 2 years ago have always been supportive of the public's right to access the beach. Thank you.
Hang on a minute. I'm going to go over here first, and then I'll come back to you, okay? Ms. Tucker.
Thank you.
As you come forward, be careful. There's a couple of steps here that will throw you on the ground, right, Tony?
My name is Ann Tucker. I am chairwoman of the Muskogee Nation of Florida, Florida Tribe of Eastern Creek Indians, and I am here. I do not represent any special group. I do not represent any party that's sitting here. I represent a tribal government, an Indian people whose history to this place is from the beginning time. We have filed. I am simply saying that we have a resolution that we have passed.
Okay, Ann, I understand that. I just need you to speak into the mic.
How am I doing, better? My mouth is so big, usually I don't need this. We have passed a resolution at an emergency meeting of our tribal government. We are a tribe that has over 10,000 sheets of documentation in the Department of the Interior. The resolution that we have passed resolves that this tribal council believes in full beach access for all residents, all visitors to this area. We stand behind this board of county commissioners in your legal feat that you are going to have to do. We believe that your case will impact all of Florida, and we want you to do your best. On behalf of the tribe, we are sorry that we cannot submit our testimony because our relationship to this place is a relationship that you don't have and that you do not know about. At the next hearing, I would like official notification sent to the tribe, and I would be honored to be allowed to speak and teach you some of the things that we know that perhaps you have not considered. Please let these people have a voice. We are grateful that we were invited here today.
Thank you, Ann. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Catherine McCright Provencher. I've been a resident of Walton County since my family bought land in Seagrove in 1975. I began elementary school at Freeport Elementary. In Seagrove, we could walk anywhere.
Please, did you spell your name, your last name for the clerk board?
Provencher, Provencher. First of all, I want to say to the crowd here, this is a complete tactic. So they are trying to dilute this down, so make sure everyone shows up on November and bring 3 people with you, because this is a tactic. So they're just trying to put it off. I feel so sorry for y'all. I really just want to say that my heart goes out to you because you must be like the Grinch. Because no, it is not sane to want to own every grain of sand on the beach and push people to the waterline. As I was saying, my childhood, I played on the beaches. It was pristine, beautiful, before Seaside was even developed. And Robert and Daryl Davis, they never were like, this is our beaches. You know, these beaches belong to all. And this law actually goes back to our basis of law, which comes from Greece, to that the coastlines were for the public. And the way that you've said that is the stating it and using public dollars right now. I really feel sorry for you. This community will just pray for y'all to open up your hearts and come back to humanity and community, because it's definitely, it's a disease in your heart that is causing this. And everybody in this room, we feel sorry for you, but we're not gonna let you get away with this. We're not. So on November 3rd, expect this room to be completely packed with even more people. And the longer you play these little tactics, we're gonna just keep bringing more and more and more people. So just know that your politics are not, you're not masking this.
Ms. Venture,
yes.
Believe me, we're sick to our stomachs that we're having to do
Well, I'm
this.
really talking to the private landowners, these few people that are sucking the money from Walton County. Even using these lights in here, everything, and we're having to defend ourselves. It really is insanity.
And Kathy, could I say one thing? Kathy, I walk with your mom, Carol, and Dick, so I'm with you. I understand this. I have a heart for Walton County, and we're going to fight that these beaches stay public.
Thank you.
Okay, let me ask y'all to do something. This clapping interrupts the flow of the meeting. It goes into...
And then you're interrupting my moment. I'd like for you to not interrupt the 3 minutes that each person gets. So everybody in here gets their full 3 minutes. Thank you. You are voted by these people. Remember that? You were voted by these people. That is so cowardice.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's fine. Fine. Like that? Mm-hmm. Fine. You want to sit down? No, I'm fine. Okay. That's fine. I don't need a chair. They called a recess because it's getting well, I'll just tell you what I'll do. Good. You can just do this. We can do this. Good. Hey, Janie. You remember Janie Stinson?
I do. I haven't seen him in so long. You haven't changed a bit.
Back to order, please. Okay, next up is Miss Jo Brown. Jo.
Good morning. My name is Josephine Brown. I'm 92 years old. I live in Walton County since 1949. My husband was born here and he was reared here and grew up on the beach of South Walton. The beaches of South Walton are unexplainable to the present generation. They have no concept of going to the beach and not seeing another soul, practically for the whole day. All the hills, all the dunes were bare, just sand dunes and sea oats and beautiful water. And you try to explain that to this present generation and they have no concept. And the beaches that I knew and grew up with and we enjoyed, we rode jeeps on, we dug holes in, we fished on, we had bonfires, we camped out, all the wonderful things of childhood and growing up and enjoying Walton County beaches. Of course, those days are gone forever, but still we would like to maintain a little bit of that personal closeness that we always had with the beach. And I think it would be a great disgrace to the county if we give in to this current thing that we're facing right now. We need to keep our beaches as current uses were, and the customary use is an ideal situation of what we've had since it was in our family for 6 generations. My husband's people were from Point Washington, and that was coming to Point Seagrove was a big deal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is John Bunshow, and I'll spell that for you, B-U-N-D-S-C-H-O. I live in the Avalon Beach Estates subdivision in the western end of Walton County. Our HOA holds a deed to approximately 500 feet of beach. It was acquired 23 years ago in 1995. I'm speaking today on my own behalf, and my opinions are my own. The control of access to a property is a fundamental property right. If an owner cannot control who uses his property, in effect, he really does not own the property. This fundamental property right underlies every lease agreement, royalty agreement, property sale. Walton County's concept of customary use abrogates this basic property right. The county sold the rights to the Avalon Beach more than 23 years ago and now has seller's remorse. They wish they had not sold it, and they want it back, but they don't want to pay for it. The county would have us believe that just because someone may have trespassed on our property before we acquired it, we should now allow them to trespass on our property more than 23 years later. Finally, the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states, "Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation." Walton County's notion of customary use is, in reality, an unconstitutional taking of property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, ma'am.
My name is Karen McGee, M-C-G-E-E, and I live at 383 Lakeview Drive, Santa Rosa Beach. And I was coming here today to speak on behalf of my husband, Tom McGee, whom many of you know and who some may not know, passed away this week. Tom was one of the earliest people to speak on behalf of customary use. He was working on this from 2008, and I think he probably harangued or nagged or talked to many of the people up here and many of you in the audience. However, Tom was a lawyer, and he was actually one of the black robe types that Mr. Thuriak talked about. And as his wife of 31 years, I heard a lot about evidence over the years. And I also learned to trust the advice of my lawyer, whoever that might be. And on the advice of my lawyer, who's sitting over there, Ms. Bazette, This is not what I would say today on his behalf is not evidence. It will be evidence on November 3rd, so I will withhold whatever I had to say until then. Thank you.
Ms. McGee, our sympathy with your loss. We've known him for a long time.
I will hold up a very nice painting that he did about customary use.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Bowman?
Coy Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N. I'm sorry I can't release my address. Okay, so the question seems to be whether this is a meeting about the public's right to use private property, or is it the private's right to take public property? Okay, so you have a beach ordinance, right, that says the public can walk around on these people's private property, which, by the way, does not belong to them. Is there something in your ordinance that says they can't do? It says they can walk around, they can put a towel down. The problem is your ordinance says that you can't put a tent there and you can't smoke. Okay, so now if this goes through, you have then now established that a government entity can tell you what to do on your private property. So if you can tell the public that they can't smoke while they sit on the beach, then what's going to stop you in 10 or 20 years from now from telling them they can't do other things on their property? Okay, so now here's the big issue. You cannot privatize the border of a country, because if you privatize the border of a country, then that means it can be bought by a private person who can then sell it to somebody who isn't even a United States resident. So now what happens when every single piece of beachfront property is owned by someone in communist China? They are going to put up a wall, and that is going to be the end of it for all of us, okay? So now everybody out here who signed this piece of paper in support of what they think is their right to customary use have actually been tricked by you into giving up their own personal rights, because you will set a precedent that states that the government, which you aren't, you are a group of people acting as the government. You're not an actual government, you say so yourself, but you will establish a precedent that you can then tell people what to do on their private property. Okay, so the state of Florida has asked the people to present evidence that the beaches belong to everybody. So I asked the state of Florida what evidence they have that says they own it. And what I was given from the state of Florida's website, www.myflorida.com, was the Spanish land grants, which is the biggest fraud, fraudulent, farceness, fallacy that has ever existed in American history. Everyone in Florida is guilty of stealing federal property, and you're trying to privatize it so that you can privatize the entire state of Florida. So all of these people out here who think they're fighting for good and the public use of public land are actually being tricked by you into giving up their own rights. Okay, so the reason you couldn't find those 13 parcel owners is because nobody owns them. There is no legal deedery on it. So now, I tried to bring my evidence here today and you wouldn't let me present it because that's what the state of Florida does. I'm almost done, just give me 5 more seconds. I am going to present that evidence today down in Grayton if anybody would like to come and see it. I'll be down in Grayton with the evidence that proves that Walton County does not own this land. They're trying to privatize it and steal it from everybody so they're going to tell you what to do on your own property.
If she can't maintain control, ask her to go outside.
They are not a real government. They say so themselves. I've got the evidence and they won't let me show it. I'll be down in Grayton all day.
Okay.
Hi.
Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Elizabeth Cork. That's C-O-R-K, like you stick in a bottle.
What was the first name?
And my name is Elizabeth Cork, C-O-R-K. And I've been visiting South Walton for 40 years, but I've been a resident for 16. For 4 of those years, I lived in beachfront. I now live in Watersound, which is a beachfront community. And I've believed forever that all beaches should be public and open to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Lee Shook. I live at 8850 East County Road 30A.
You didn't spell your last name? could get it. Could you spell your last name for her, please?
Like all shook up, S-H-O-O-K.
Thank you.
I've been in the area, my family, since I was born in the Destin area, growing up, and then as soon as I got out of college, I came to Seagrove and bought my first place when I was 30 years old. The house I currently have, I built in 1984. And my family and friends, we've enjoyed it all these years. This is a beautiful place. We had an extraordinary opportunity to do it right in Walton County, unlike our neighboring counties where the vertical density and the beach wars they have over there are unbelievable. But we're getting to that point, and I hate to see it. Property rights are the basic tenet of America. I used to use my property, and my deed reads, I have riparian rights. I go all the way to the high tide mark. I can't use, and my family and friends and renters, we can't use our beach because people come down at 6 o'clock in the morning, beach chair companies, tourists, whoever, set up, take over, and you have to get down there ahead of them. Most of the time, the beach chairs are empty. They say they have contracts. I know they don't. Next door to me is a vacant lot, and you know, I've been fighting those beach chair companies daily. But I don't understand the only two other counties in the whole state of Florida that have this customary use, and that's St. Johns County and Volusia County. Why in the world we need this when we have all these beautiful state parks, we have the county parks, that the public, that's what they're there for. And we have an abundance of them. But I can't come to your house and set up chairs and umbrellas in your front yard and use your yard. But you're saying people can come to my front yard and set up whatever they want to and do whatever they want to. We have people going to the bathroom in the dunes in front of the house. Loud music, drinking, throwing trash everywhere. I pick up trash daily. It's unbelievable. It's really killing the goose that laid the golden egg.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Susan.
Thank you. I'm Susan Brown Burgess. I live in Defuniak Springs, and I have a beach house at Seagrove Beach. And let's see, I will say I'm 69 years old, so I've been on this beach all my life. My grandmother had a place at Grayton. Our family has places at Seagrove, Camp Creek, and Eastern Lake. And I wanted to tell you, I was fortunate enough to walk from Seagrove to Grayton, Seagrove to Eastern Lake to Camp Creek to the nude beach, which is Alice Beach, and Grayton to Blue Mountain, and Blue Mountain to Santa Rosa. Not at all one time. You could only walk as far as your legs could carry you because you had to turn around and come back. But I have never seen somebody impede my transition to the beach or the dunes in all those walks in all those years. I thank y'all for protecting for future generations, my grandchildren, others, and great-grandchildren to know the beach and love it. Things I have done on this beach is walking, running, playing, sailing, surfing, fishing, collecting shells, bonfires. We had played games hiding in the dunes. There used to be dunes before the storms, y'all. Big dunes. And I want you to know there were no walkways down to the beaches until after Opal. We walked on the dunes to go to the beach and hauled all that mess back up every day. But I thank you all having the opportunity to represent all of Walton County. I had the opportunity to go to Hawaii, and all beaches in Hawaii are for people. There's no private beach on any island in Hawaii. I did not know that, but that's something for us to consider. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Tom Ballantyne, B as in boy, A-L-L-A-N-T-I-N-E. I am the property owner of a property in Seagrove Beach. It's a condominium complex, and I represent myself and all the owners of the condos at 3656 East Highway 38. I bought that property in 1996, so I've been there 22 years, and we are firmly in support of customary use. I have witnessed customary use for 22 years. We've never had a problem, maybe a little something happened once or twice, but we have people sitting on the beach, sunbathing, fishing, walking on the beach, running, kite flying, volleyball, body surfing, wading, parasailing, paddleboarding, all kinds of recreational games, skimboarding, bonfires, cookouts, and crabbing. And I'd like to say something about the beach boys, the people with the umbrellas and the chairs. If there's ever a problem, they can work out the differences between the umbrellas and chairs and the people that put up the canopies. Along our property, it's never been a problem. They can sort it out, leave it to those boys. They're good, they do it every day, they know how to get it done. So we really want to have the beaches open to everyone. I'm a Christian. God made the beach, and it is for all God's people. Like I said, I have witnessed this for a number of years. Am I out of time?
I thought you had about a minute left.
Okay.
There it is right there.
We're strongly in support of customary use. I've been here a long time. I'm older than the other people here that have been talking, and I would like to see it that way for the rest of my life. One last thing. I have also owned some property in Louisiana, and I serve on the zoning commission in St. Tammany Parish and things like that, and I thought Louisiana was bad. But this has been amateur hour today. I'm very disappointed.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Marcia Brown Anderson. I live at 164 East Bayou Forest Drive. My father homesteaded property in Seagrove Beach in 1953, built a house the year I was born. Now you know how old I am. And we have been residents of Walton County, as my mother said. I'm the fifth generation of a Walton Countyan. We have enjoyed the beach all my life. From the day I was born, I have enjoyed the beach, walked on the beach, played on the beach. My father's owned several pieces of property that were Gulf front, and I know he used to own a piece where Beachside Villas is down from Eastern Lake. And I have a box of Indian pottery I collected on the dunes. He had a piece of property he was going to sell, and we used to slide down the backside of the dune on cardboard. But I have a box of Indian pottery that we collected on the beach there years and years ago before we sold the property. But I know also a story, in high school, the Anchor Club would do garbage pickups. They would drop us off down at Fort Panic, and two girls would walk down the beach. We would collect garbage. Jeeps would come down, pick up the bags of garbage, and we would continue to walk and pick up the garbage. So nobody was there, no signs telling us not to collect garbage on their beach. It was for everyone. We kept the beach beautiful because we loved it. And I won't be here for November the 3rd, so I'm going to go ahead and testify. But also, it's funny for me to hear people saying, I bought this property in 2002 and this is my beach. I kind of take offense to that because it's my beach. It's been my beach my whole life, not since 2002. So I just want to let everybody know that the beach has always been a place for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. You're right.
Hi, I'm Bill Hackmeyer. I'm from Vizcaya, probably the epicenter of this beach theft drama. And I believe that instead of spending millions of dollars of county money on attorney fees and forcing beachfront property owners to do the same with little chance that you will succeed, you should spend the money to buy private beach properties to convert to public use. This will save the county millions of dollars of TDC money on wasted attorney fees, which, as you know, is our money, the people of Walton County. We beachfront owners are not greedy or bad people. We just resent the government bureaucrats telling us what to do with our beach. I, for one, have worked hard all my life and saved my money to buy a beachfront home, which came with a deed to the water's edge, which, as you know, is the mean high water line. And I, unlike Ballantyne, I'm older than Ballantyne, I have to tell you that. I guarantee you that the taxes I pay reflect the fact that this is a beachfront property. The Florida Supreme Court decision in 1974, Tony Rama versus the City of Daytona, prescribed that for customary use, the prior use must be ancient, reasonable, uncontested, and without interruption. I emphasize the word "and" because all of the above must be met for customary use. It is blatantly obvious that Vizcaya, along with Seaside, Grand Dunes, Village of White Cliff, Paradise by the Sea, and the Goodwins do not fall within the definition of the Supreme Court. So please consider the money you will be wasted when you make your decision as to who to hose. I noticed that one of you have lost the election, and I feel for you because I know you've worked hard. However, this should be a wake-up call to the rest of you folk that folks around here resent the county commission spending millions by violating the Constitution to confiscate private property. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Martin Jesselnick, and then the last name is spelled Jesselnik. I want to thank you all for what you're doing on behalf of the public and on behalf of the taxpayers, and having the public hearings and trying to get together the affidavits for this vote that will be coming up and for the legal battle. First of all, let me address a definition possibly from the last man speaking. He mentioned that customary use must be, I guess you'd say, of an antiquated type anomaly, if nothing else these days. And I believe the definition, I know it is by cars in the state of Florida. If it's 25 years or older, you get an antique tag, for a little bit less money. My grandparents came to Walton County and specifically to Funiac Springs and built 3 businesses there that were very successful, along with my great-grandparents. I submitted pictures to the attorney's office, which date at least back to 1950, showing my family on the beaches of Walton County. And after that, most all of the pictures that I submitted were from the 50s. And if my math is correct, I think that would qualify as antiquity and customary use, going back that far. We were never told, ever, to remove ourselves from anyone's private property, because I don't think back then it was done that way. For some reason, this is just a contemporary problem that has come to my attention. And I guess I'm standing here in awe, just wondering, why didn't the public and the taxpayers know about this before this past year? If these deeds had been submitted, you know, we're all standing here shocked, thinking that someone else owns our beaches. And we're standing here saying, no, we have used these beaches, and I myself am 63 years old, and I am a native Walton County. So I've been here all of my life. And all of my life, I have swam in our beaches, I have walked our beaches. My grandfather was a big fisherman. He fished our beaches. We would play in the dune lakes, and never once during this time was I ever told. Now, I have a couple of questions. First of all, I'd like to know whether or not, by extending this meeting, if you will be extending the deadline for affidavits to be coming in. Would that be extended as well?
It will be extended.
Okay. And if I may, a second question. I'd really like to know from a taxpayer standpoint, I know that thousands and thousands of taxpayers' dollars have been spent on our beaches, government dollars. And how long have we been paying taxpayers or using taxpayers' money for private property improvements? Because I think that is a very important question that needs to be answered for the taxpayers of Walton County. I knew that my money was going toward cleaning the beaches, collecting garbage. However, I didn't know, I have never known, no government body has ever told me that my taxpayer dollars were being spent on private property. And I think that's a big question for any government.
Your time is up.
Okay.
You passed it. I don't know if you noticed the clock in front of you or not. But anyway, yes, there are tax dollars being spent to look after your interest to use the beach. Now, I guess if they all came and said, don't do it no more, then you're the ones that's going to have to fight it individually.
Well, the problem...
We're trying to do it for everybody that wants to have access to the beach.
Well, the problem is that I've lived here all my life, and my parents have lived here most all of their lives, too. And I'm going back years of taxpayer dollars being spent on the beach. And we've never been told that. I know that my driveway can't be paved by the county. You know, I know that when our dirt road was taken over by the county, you were preparing that road and spent taxpayer dollars, so we gave that to the county.
It's just that we need to move on.
Sure,
Sir,
keep that in the back of your minds.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Guy Arello, 52 Bay Magnolia Lane over by the Bay Restaurant. I moved here in 2010 mainly because I could go to any beach I wanted. We chose property off of 30A because we knew we could have access. So I claim that I get to beach hop and go wherever I want to go, which has been the state up until today. That's a personal issue, though. I want to make a statement about the overlays that have gone into place that are federal laws, then state laws, that have set up basically property rights being under a conservation easement. And it's kind of a natural thing that's happened, and I don't think they called it that in the beginning, but in 1972, we had the Coastal Zone Management Act put into place by the federal government And then that act was ratified by the Florida Coastal Management Act program in the 1990s. And the whole beach access process was set up by these overlays of federal to state laws. Basically, every landowner knows they can't build past the dune line. So basically, everything on the other side of the dune line is a conservation easement. With that conservation easement, we got rights to the beach. Part of the laws were the public accesses that were put into place by the feds and then by the state to allow the people to have access to the beaches, which belongs to them. All of this is under the overlay of protecting the environment, the coastal dunes, and everything that happens from turtles to seagrass to what we can do on the beach, which is all great. I think we can use this overlay of laws that we have and start from scratch. And look, from 1972, this started. So, you know, everybody's talking about 1990s and further on. We've got laws from 1972 that started all this. What I'd like to say also, which is really a huge economic situation, is coastal replenishment. When there is erosion on the beach, let's just say you take 2 points. If you erode out an area on the beach, and let's say the landowners, I guess you're going to pay for this, to replenish the beach. First of all, there's a law that says you have to replenish with crystal sand from the ocean. It has to be identical. It has to be replenished. Secondly, if you don't replenish that land properly, the 2 points of the dip are the next areas that are going to get completely eroded. So if the landowners are really going after this, the full responsibility of the money involved to replace this land should be their burden. And I guarantee that it's going to be very expensive. But the state owns the replenishment process. The sands that are replenished are coming from the water and being put back on the land. So if the mean water line has been removed, the sand put back is state land.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is David Jeselnik, J-E-S-E-L-N-I-K. I'm not a Walton County born and bred, but I came here in 1980, back in the days when you got to the beach by walking down a sandy path between the dunes, and you had to carry your own chair because there weren't any waiting on you when you got down there. And I stand here today in support of customary use. But the reason I'm here is not because I love the beaches so much, and we all, I think, agree that they're probably some of the best natural resources that we have here in Florida. But I'm here to talk about their use as educational resources, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that. You may notice my shirt here. It's put out by the Ocean Conservancy as part of the International Coastal Cleanup effort. For those of you that know me, I retired 2 years ago from the Walton School District. From 1980 to 1999, I taught honors sciences at Walton High School. I originated their marine science program to begin with. And then from 99 until I retired 2 years ago, I was a curriculum coordinator in the district office. And from about 90 or 83 until that same time, 30-something years, I taught the biology for Northwest Florida State College in the Defuniak Springs campus. So, the International Coastal Cleanup, what is that? Started in 1982. I volunteered to be the Walton County Zone Coordinator in 1983, second year of it. What it was putting people on the beach to pick up trash, like Marcia said a little bit ago. But the difference is, this effort, you collected data on it. You were issued a data card, you wrote down what you found, how much of it you found, and whether any of it could be identified. And the efforts of this cleanup operation was one of the main things that went into the Marine Pollution Control Act that helped make our beaches as beautiful as they are. That's where it became illegal for cruise ships and oil tankers and things to dump their trash and their sludge out in the water right before they went to port. So what I did when I was there at Walton High is I organized my students to come and pick up the data like that. And so for all those years, I never had less than 60 students do it. Sometimes I had 120. When I went to the district office, I opened up to all the schools to do it as beach field trips and partnered with the TDC to operate the walk-up sites, which every third Saturday in September, which I guess is next week, if we can do it now. I don't know if we can do it under the current situation. During those years, I never had less than 600 participants and sometimes had up to 1,400. My point being, over those years, I oversaw in excess of 6,000 people go to the beach, all 26 miles, all at the same time, picking up trash. Never once was there a complaint from a resident, ever, and in more likelihood, they'd come and ask what was going on and they'd join in. This is an educational resource. I can't tell you how many kids from Paxton and even Defuniak Springs went down to the beach to do this, first time they'd ever seen the sand.
Right.
We've got to protect that right. Thank you,
sir.
Good morning. My name is Brian Montague. My wife and I live at 43 Chanel Court.
Sir, would you spell your last name for the court reporter?
Yes, sir. Montague, M-O-N-T-A-G-U-E. My wife and I live at 43 Chanel Court. In addition, we own Lot B4 in the Bellamar at Gulf Place subdivision. I first want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for your service generally and with respect to this issue. And as one of the few lawyers here this morning, not in coat and tie, I'd like to thank Ms. Moyes, I'd like to thank Mr. Theriak, and I'd like to thank other counsel who've contributed to making this process as open and fair as it can be. But it's in the spirit of openness and fairness, I hope this board will do whatever it can to maximize chances for making the record of this proceeding admissible in the November proceeding. I would hope that the law of Florida would tolerate a rule of substantial compliance such that the de minimis defects in the notice to thousands of beachfront owners won't negate the attendance and statements made here by hundreds of people who are in attendance in reliance on the notice of this hearing. And it seems foreseeable, if not likely, that as you seek to cure the notice defects with respect to these 13, there may arise other defects with respect to future notice efforts. So in an effort not to chase our tails procedurally, in an effort to get to the meat and potatoes of the matter, I hope that two things. First of all, that the board will explore whether substantial compliance is enough, and I would hope that it is. And second, whether, regardless, all of the efforts, not only by the attendees here this morning, but by the board and by council, as a result of which this meeting is being convened, will not go for naught. The other point I would like to make is this. We're talking about customary use. We're not talking about a state of affairs where under those who wish to use the beach claim absolute right to it. Rather, I think most recognize that the right of customary use must be reasonable use. So it's not as if these beachfront owners, in being asked to recognize customary use, are abdicating or throwing away all their rights. Indeed, they're not, because we all, not only beachfront owners, but all of us share a common interest in making sure that use is reasonable. That said, I conclude with this remark. The lot I mentioned we have in Bellamar at Gulf Place is for sale. We were told recently by a real estate agent that our two hot prospects have left the market because of concerns over customary use. This issue is not merely recreational, it's not merely theoretical, it's real, it's economic, and customary use should be recognized. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. She's next. You go ahead, ma'am. Thank you.
Sorry, you're next, I guess. Hello. I am Lynn Fitzgerald. My husband, Dan, and I are owners of beachfront property of Sandala 1 in Miramar Beach. We bought this property in 1994. I had been coming to Destin since I was a small child. I won't say how young, but 10, 11, 12. It was our dream to own beachfront property. So we had some money that was left to, we had some inherent, okay, I don't have any sound now. What's happened? We had some inheritance money that was used for this purpose. And when we bought our property, the reason we bought it was that our deed stated that our ownership was to the mean high tide water line. It is written in our deed. We have never posted a sign. We have never had a problem with anyone walking down our beach. No signs are up for our townhomes. We talk to people that come down. We love people to walk across. But we do draw a line when commercial beach umbrella businesses take down our guests who have paid for beachfront property in the summertime. They go out at 5 o'clock, put up their umbrellas, tents, canopy tents. When they get out there at 8:30, they're not up. They've been picked up and thrown down. We had more than 4 calls this summer that this had occurred. And guess what was put up in their place? The commercial beach umbrella companies. So this is what this is really about. I see many of you looking down at the ground, but we know that this is what it's all about, because they're getting anywhere, I'm not sure now, $50 to $75 a day for each umbrella and chair. So you add that up on a daily basis, and what do you get? Big money. And big money obviously is talking. Okay, so people can walk down our beach. We have no problem with it. But we do have a problem with our guests paying for beachfront property. They go down and it's not available to them. In fact, they have been told this summer that it's no longer private property, which was a fallacy, okay? All right, so they're no longer able to set up, because some of the others got another second, so I'm going to take a further second. Our guests were also harassed. They had people coming and saying that they were going to set up their canopy tents because another unit had told them to come over. Okay, so we want to state that although the beaches are public, they have never, ever been turned away to walk down the beach. But we do oppose HB 631.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we're on this side of the aisle.
It's not staying up.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Michelle Hart. That's H-A-R-T. I own property in the Prominent subdivision, and my permanent residence is in Bellevue, Washington. I am here today because the fact that I do own property here in this county and my family is all here. I was born in Fort Walton Beach. I do consider this to be my home. I am still relatively new to the issue, so please, I respectfully request that I be corrected for any misstatements that I might make today. I believe in April 2017, Walton County's Commission passed their customary use ordinance unanimously, and that went into effect. At that time, this body made a commitment to Walton County residents to uphold the ancient principles of customary use that have been recognized for centuries on Florida's beaches. Thank you. The public hearing's sole purpose is to reaffirm your commitment to Walton's residents with respect to recognizing customary use and to pass the notice of intent to seek a judicial declaration in this same regard, to affirm the existence of a recreational customary use. The purpose of this process is not to hear claims of property rights or to appeal to or succumb to emotion. It is to receive, review, and to forward the evidence of customary use with your notice of intent to the court in reaffirmation of your previously adopted ordinance and commitment to customary use. At this time, I would like to urge two things. I would like to urge the Commission to reconsider its setting of 60 days for the public hearing. Because this is such an important issue to the community and the impacts are so great, I urge expeditious action and to be consistent with the statutory legislation that requires 30 days notice to property owners, not 60 days. Secondly, I would urge this commission to take an immediate at ease to consult with your attorneys regarding not formally opening this public hearing today. This was advertised as a public hearing. It has been advertised for many weeks, several months as a public hearing, I believe. Proper procedure would be to open this public hearing formally today, to receive your evidence, and then continue it to a date certain so that the renotice can be properly made. Thank you very much for your consideration.
My name is Dave Ross. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, just 1 second. So with the 60 days, you're right, we only do need to give 30 days notice to the beachfront property owners, but because of the large number of people that have to be noticed, it does take us at least a couple of weeks lead time to get everything printed and ready to go in the mail. So that's the need for the 60 days.
Hi, my name is Dave Roshkald. R-A-U-S is in Sam, C-H-K-O-L-B. I'm a resident of Watersound Beach, 187 Tidal Bridge Way. I've owned now 5 businesses in Walton County, one for 32 years in Seaside. I'm a restaurateur. I also have 2 daughters that live here, and my wife. We live there together. I applaud the Walton County Commission for taking the steps and the measures to establish a customary use initially and to reestablish it through this process. I'd like to ask all of you, and I can't ask everyone behind me, but wouldn't we all rather just be at the beach today? It's a beautiful day, I want to address, the vitriol. The beachfront owners are really good people. We're all really good people. We need to stop attacking each other. When personal attacks happen, it's incredibly unfortunate, and we are all a community together here, and we have to figure this situation out. The broader implications are economic and, of course, emotional. The economic implications are huge. Beachfront owners, think about all of the people who own property that are not on the beach, that have to now realize that those beach accesses that they've used for years, their homes are not going to rent as readily as they normally would. Those homes are not going to be worth as much. Those people are not going to come. They're not going to spend the same money that they have. This is the backbone of our economy, our beaches. I got a letter from a friend that understands the beach cottage rental agency business, and I'm going to read it for you. Over the past couple of weeks, I've gotten a handful of messages and calls from Hilton Head friends in the vacation rental business asking what the heck is going on with our beaches. They're already getting several requests for spring break and summer next year from folks who normally come to 30A. The majority are unfamiliar with Hilton Head or have been there a time or two, but their primary reason for switching locations is the beach issue. The top 3 complaints are the private beach signs, the beach vendors, and aggressive homeowners and security guards. Some of the stories are pretty embarrassing and others are fairly innocuous. Either way, they're making their reservations to stay on Hilton Head versus here, and it all leads back to HB 631. This is something that affects all of us. And the decisions that happen moving forward are critical to the perception people have for this place as a welcoming place. I agree with your decision to wait and cross your I's and dot your T's. It gives us more time to collect more affidavits, more time for people to learn about this situation, and more time for us to make a measured quality response and decision affecting our future in Walton County. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Good morning. My name is Phil Ayer. Last name is spelled Echo Hotel Romeo. It's a consequence of being retired Navy. I live at 3390 Bayou Boulevard in Pensacola, Florida. I'm a recent runner-up to the Democratic Party's nomination for the United States House of Representatives. And let me tell you that on the campaign trail, such as it was, the winner of that contest, Dr. Jennifer Zimmerman, was passionate about recognizing the customary use on Florida's beaches. And if we are looking for an ally in the United States Congress on this issue, she's the person to vote for. Because on the other side, we have more money interests that are looking at what I think is the misguided interpretation of property rights, the misguided interpretation of that rule of law. Now, I would say I'm also here in honor of Judge Tom McGee, who is a founding member of my congressional campaign committee and mentored me along on this issue, and my heart, like everybody's, goes out to Karen for his service on this issue, and it's a wonderful service he's done for our community. Look, I'm not here representing Dr. Zimmerman, but I am here representing Gigi Gibson. Gigi Gibson, G-I-B-S-O-N. Pay attention, please. She is a Democratic Democratic Party's nominee for the Florida State Senate. The Florida State Senate. Yes, sir.
Hang on a minute. This ain't a political meeting. This is talking about these activities. Please do not, or direct your statements to what is at hand, and
okay.
That is the beach, not maybe an individual candidate.
Aye, aye, sir. Sorry. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, this is the customary use on the beach is a government issue. The government is comprised of the political side, thus your representation here. The potential candidates that are coming up to be allies in legislature. The judicial side. Now, Ms. Gibson is qualified as a former attorney, as a current attorney, married to a former attorney, and the reason she's not here has to do with the beach.
I understand that Ms. Dixon can speak for herself if she wants to come here.
She cannot because her husband has just had a leg amputation. She is in hospital with him, and she has asked me to represent her and her views here as totally in support of customary use.
Stick to it, or sit down, and we'll go to the next.
She is informed. She is in favor of recognition of customary use because.
That's all we need to know.
You don't want to know her rationale?
Nope. Thank you.
My name is Veronica Cherry, C-H-E-R-R-Y. I live in Panama City Beach at this time, but I'm building a house at Inlet Beach on the Gulf. I just want to bring out that living in Panama City Beach, it is a public beach area, and I run there 5 days a week. Everyone here who is for the beach seems to act innocent the way they treat the beach. On those 5 days, I always see garbage such as broken beach gear and digging deep holes that the parents don't tell the children to fill them in because the hatchling sea turtles could fall in there on their way back into the water and be eaten by predators. They don't explain any of that. Well, what I'm saying is in Panama City Beach, it is a public access. It has garbage cans lined along the way, but a lot of people seem to think that they don't have to throw their garbage in the garbage. So as I run, I pick up garbage, so I'm a witness to it. The other thing I want to say, if I've been duped in purchasing a piece of property on the Gulf, okay, to where the county can take it away, a significant portion of my property and for public use, then I want to be compensated by it because it instantly devalues my land. And what I mean is that cut my property taxes that I pay so much of, but I don't complain because the reason I paid a lot of money for that piece of property is because I saw that it included a private beach. And it was my own way of saying, oh, I have a way of conserving a beach to keeping it pristine. Okay, I don't object to public access to the beach. It's everyone's right. But if humans would behave differently, it wouldn't be an issue today. Okay, so I don't want to hear that they're so innocent to their rights to the beach. Okay, there are ordinances. I've been attacked almost twice by unleashed aggressive I shouldn't say aggressive, I should say untrained dogs. And if it wasn't for the Gulf that I had to dive in once, I would have been in the hospital. It was a very aggressive German Shepherd, okay? So even though there are ordinances, they're not enforced, okay? So I want to just tell you about the human conduct. Now, my suggestions are, with the dedicated beaches, there's no building allowed. If the county would make access like easy parking, and also in the state parks that are on the Gulf, to cut their fees in half,
Sherry, wrap up your comments, please.
And
10 seconds.
Okay, so all I'm saying is if you're going to take my land away, then I need to be compensated and cut my property taxes in half.
Okay, thank you. I think you're up now.
My name is Karen Doyle, D-O-Y-L-E. I live at 65 Summerwind Trail in Santa Rosa Beach. I've worked in the tourism and hospitality industry in South Walton since 1992 and have owned property here since January of 2007. During that time, I've continuously enjoyed unfettered access and use of the 26 miles of beaches of South Walton. Over the years, I've also attended an untold number of Walton County Tourist Development Council meetings. I see that Malcolm Patterson's standing behind me. He very diligently served us in that capacity in a very responsible way. I've followed the expenditure of countless millions, inviting others to enjoy this same customary beach use. I dare say that many, if not all, of the beachfront owners challenging customary use of the beaches were once visitors themselves who enjoyed this same customary use, which they are now trying to challenge and deny others. I'm sorry, I'm not a public speaker, so my voice is cracking. As a Florida native whose ancestry in the Panhandle can be traced back to the early 1800s, it is unconscionable to me that customary use of the beaches is being challenged in this way. I don't know what the beachfront owners' intentions were when they surreptitiously misused a statutory action predominantly used to secure marketable titles for tax deed sales, but I can't see this playing out in any scenario that is favorable to the county. Before developing Sea Pines Plantation, noted developer Charles Frazier, and I quote, drove up and down the coastline from Virginia to Miami, seeking out the original developers of beachfront properties whenever he could find them, asking if you had to do it over again, what would you do differently? From Hot Mound to Honky Tonk and back again, they told him what a short-sighted mistake it had been to line up a row of houses along a beach and then put a road just behind the houses, creating a safety hazard and reducing the value of all the lots on the inland side of the road. I think the county would be making a fiscally irresponsible mistake if customary use were no longer allowed. I don't have the official count of inland versus beachfront properties in Walton County, but I can't imagine that the subsequent devaluing of inland property and associated tax rolls would be enough to offset whatever short-sighted gains could be made otherwise. Nobel Peace Prize nominee David Brower once said, "When rampant growth happens in an individual, we call it cancer." I doubt that any of the 7,000 affidavits included any offenses that the beachfront owners have talked about today that they could possibly be against. I doubt any one of those affidavits put customary use as going to bathroom in the dunes or trashing the beaches or leaving holes for turtles to fall into. If Walton County's growth has precipitated these actions, I think the remedy should be addressed through improved management and code enforcement.
Thank you. I don't know if will it reach over there? Okay, thank you.
Hold on.
Okay.
My name is Kathleen Painter, like an artist. I live at Miramar Beach. I'm here today to talk about customary use. It includes access to the beaches for everyone. Forcing me to the water's edge is in violation of the ADA, is reckless, unsafe, and irresponsible. On the part of this commission, you must abide by the ADA and allow us to be on the dry sand.
Okay, sir, you're up.
My name is Randy Sims, 232 Winston Lane in Inlet Beach. And I don't think there's any landowner that wants to force you down into the water. I am a landowner, beachfront, moved here about 5 years ago, have been coming for over 30 years. And there is the other side to that. As a renter, I wanted to be sure that the premium I paid on the rental for the beachfront, I would have a spot on the beach. So when you say people may not come down here, there is that issue too. I want to come down and I want to make sure that I do have a place on the beach. Second, I finally got myself into a position where I could build a house on the beach, the dream house for my wife. And when the real estate agent showed me the land, he said it went all the way to the beach. When I went and purchased it, the title company said it went all the way to the beach. When I got my legal description, it said it went all the way to the beach. You know, over and over and over. I never dreamed that someone that could come along and actually say, no, it's not yours, it never has been yours. So I kind of feel like the young lady that was up here too, a little duped, you know. I will say this, it is a property right, and it's very hard to prove. And it's very hard to take away anything, especially forever. So the courts will look at this very, very hard. And I appreciate the fact that the legislature did come back and say, you got to look at it per property owner, because in Inlet Beach, we're a short pathway from a wonderful, beautiful beach, public beach with restrooms and everything. Plenty of room. In fact, there's not very many people out there right now today. So there's plenty of room out there. What happens is during the busy time, there's not enough room for anyone. So even by passing this is not going to solve the problem. As far as people saying they're not coming, they're coming in record numbers. There's housing permits being built in record numbers. And we're going to still have the problem of where to put everybody on the beaches. And instead, we're going to spend millions of dollars fighting each other. And I think we ought to mark this day down as the day that neighbor went against neighbor. And I think that's sad, because the problem is not going to go away. There are thousands of people coming down here. If you look at the hub and all of that's being built behind it, there's not enough room for everybody during the busy time.
Thank you, Mr. Sims.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time. I'll keep this pretty short. I've been a resident of Walton County since '04, Miramar Beach. I'm a business owner.
State your name for me, please.
Jason McCoy. I'm a business owner, and I'm also my mother's caretaker, the lady you just met before in the wheelchair. Americans with Disabilities Act is supposed to protect elderly and handicapped people. Your lack of a ramp shows that you really didn't foresee that, as with 631. Forcing my mother to a water's edge is dangerous, reckless, and it shows what kind of inconsideration you have taken against the majority of this county, which is elderly and disabled people. You need to consider them, and maybe next meeting we'll get a ramp here where my mom can come wheel down just like everybody else. Thank you.
All right. Malcolm.
Good morning. My name is Malcolm Patterson, at 524 Mallet Bayou Road, Freeport, Florida. I'm here to speak in favor of customary use. My maternal grandparents, William Leslie and Mary Miller, were the original settlers of Grayton Beach. My family still owns property there. And I can remember riding a horse. My grandfather owned most of the cattle, and there were no pastures and there were no fenced areas for cattle, but they all roamed free because of the natural barriers, the bay and the Gulf and the waters on east and west. I have ridden a horse from Destin to Inlet Beach, and the only thing that I saw during that ride was cow dung and seals. You never saw a structure nor a human being. I can remember Vanessa Butler and I putting a ladder in an open Jeep, driving down the beach looking for cobia. And when we'd spot the cobia, we'd stop the Jeep and run out and cast to them and catch all kinds of cobia from the beach. The other thing I can remember is learning how to water ski. I learned how to water ski in the Gulf of Mexico behind a Jeep going down the beach. And the only barrier to where we were going and what we were doing were the coastal dune lakes. Occasionally they were open and you couldn't go any further. But I cannot envision in my history and in my understanding ever the beach from the toe of the dune to the water's edge being anything but public. Thank you very much.
Malcolm. I too learned how to ski in the Gulf of Mexico behind a Jeep, and I will say that's one of the worst decisions I ever made in my life. And I still have scars to prove it. And by the way, go Gators.
Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Carey, Kathy with a K, Carey, C-A-R-E-Y. I'm a permanent resident of Missouri, but have been coming to the area since 1991. My husband and I have been beachfront property owners in South Walton since 2001, so for over 17 years. We are not mean, greedy beachfront owners. We come from modest means and have worked very hard to achieve our dream of owning a beachfront home. We thought we were buying peace and tranquility for our family and friends to enjoy. When we bought over 17 years ago, our development had private beach signs on the boundaries of the property at that time, so before any of this controversy has come up in the last 4 or 5 years. Our deed showed the development owns to the mean high water line, and we paid a premium for that ownership. We did not acquire it through quiet title. The federal government previously owned our beach, and the state and county had an opportunity to purchase it before it was sold to the private developers. They chose not to, and now the county regrets that decision and wants to take it through customary use rather than compensate the owners who have paid a premium for their private beach use. We encourage you to buy up beach access for access and use by the public. Everyone does deserve to go to the beach. They just don't have the right to take that which is privately owned. We enjoyed our beach with relative peace and tranquility until about 3-4 years ago. Once the county's customary use ordinance went into effect, the volume of agitators and disrespectful individuals purposely coming to our beach has increased substantially. The agitators have become increasingly aggressive and deliberately overt in their actions to deny us our private property rights. It has arisen to the point that we fear violence may ensue and our home vandalized. There's already been several instances of vandalisms to the private signs, and it seems to be getting worse each year. Social media comments such as, "I'll take one for the team," to get hurt on the signage and therefore be able to sue the homeowners. As stated, we owned the mean high water line, which is calculated currently to be at water's edge. Question, how would you feel if a group of 5 to 20 people showed up in your backyard, set up a tarp, brought lounge chairs, coolers of beer, played loud music, and were generally rude, left their trash on your property for you to clean up? Assume you would not care for that very much, and we submit our situation is no different. It's about basic property rights protected by the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Thank you for your consideration, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Margie Jordan, Jordan. I am, unfortunately, a property owner on the north side of 38, and my walkover has been, for 20 years, the Stallworth Preserve. Now, in the last year, 2 years, there's been private property signs, and dare I walk 3 feet into one of those properties, and I have people yelling at me. I've witnessed this year especially, going on the beaches. I walk the beaches all the time. I have witnessed people being told that they have to leave, even after they've set up they were here on vacation, they're paying thousands of dollars for rental property, and they're being told that they have to pick up and move because they're on private property. I can't imagine, it's inconceivable to me that private property goes to the water's edge in water that has been here since the beginning of the earth. I would also like to expand on what Dave Roshkop said in terms of our economy. I had a business here during Ivan, during the crash, and during the oil spill. When the oil spill happened, I lost 2 storefront businesses, and we had to go back into our studio to be able to produce our business for the year and a half. However, there was BP money that was given to us to cover almost all of our net loss. There won't be any BP money or any other money coming when we lose our economy again, because that is exactly what's going to happen. I'm a notary, and I've been sitting out of business for the last 12 days, taking the affidavits and hearing from people who say they're not going to come back. They're not going to come back here and be told they can't walk on God's sand and go to the beach. It's just unbelievable. So I really want the fact of the impact on our economy to be a priority during all these decisions and hearings. And on behalf of my friend Kathleen Painter, please do have a ramp here for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Joe Burton, B-U-R-T-O-N. I come to you today to speak in favor of establishing customary use. As a longtime resident of Walton County, I have witnessed incredible changes in our community, some for the better and some for the worse. The move to exclude others from our sandy shores through privatization is perhaps the worst thing to come about in my 25 years in Seagrove Beach. Walton County has built its brand on Southern hospitality and a welcoming atmosphere. Our visitors come back year after year to experience our beaches, one of God's finest masterpieces. They also love the people who work to keep our place beautiful and welcoming to everyone from all walks of life. The move towards private beaches and the posting of no trespassing signs is an affront to our values and our culture. It threatens to do harm to our livelihood and hurt our families and must be resisted at every opportunity. The stack of affidavits delivered to you by our residents who worked so hard over the last few weeks is testimony to what I'm telling you today. Walking the beach, sitting along the shore, swimming and fishing along the water's edge should never be a crime. Those that suggest otherwise wish to deny the history of mankind. This is not just my opinion, but one shared by many. I want to read to you an excerpt from the well-known Tonorama case, because I believe this is the heart of the matter and bears repeating. The beaches of Florida are of such a character as to use and potential development as to require separate consideration from other lands with respect to the elements and consequences of title. The sandy portion of the beaches are of no use for farming, grazing, timber, or residency, the traditional uses of land, but have served as a thoroughfare and haven for fishermen and bathers, as well as a place of recreation for the public. Customary use is ancient, reasonable, without interruption, and free from dispute, and should be the law of the sand. Know that as when you vote to affirm customary use, that the people of Walton County, our visitors from across the nation, and the people who came before us stand with you, because customary use is just, it is moral, and it is right. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to call a brief reporter to let our hands relax a little bit, and then we'll come back. Let's take 5 minutes, please. Come back to order, please. Got all the board up here to see you. And I get, there she comes, okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Last time it was 3 over here, 4, but it looks like it's grown. Yeah, so those of you that, we're going to try and finish this thing up here in the next 30 to 45 minutes. If you have to leave and you want to get something to eat, there is a couple of food trucks that we had brought in back here to accommodate if you're hungry and want something to drink too. So, all right, we're going to leave off which side? Over here, okay. 38 low.
Only relatively recently. Whoops. Okay, I'll leave that less chance of me breaking anything. I would have to say, my name is Derek Berube, B-E-R-U-B-E, and I live at 63 the Greenway Loop. And for the record, I'm really regretting at this moment not actually preparing something to say. Butterflies. Anyway, I just wanted to say that my family, we bought our home in Seacrest Beach about 10 years ago with the dream of at some point in time we would be down here permanent to retire. Contrary to a lot of my friends who actually think because I'm here I am retired, I still work. Used to be software development, now I'm in the tourism industry. So this customary use I'm seeing is a big impact, not only as a property owner, but also to the industry that now allows my family the opportunity to live here. So I just wanted to retell my story that when we first moved down here or bought our home and would come and visit here, the standard operation, we would go down to the beach during the high season. If it was busy, our association's quote-unquote beach would get very full. There's about 1,000 households that have access to 240 linear feet of beach. So you imagine in the high season that gets rather busy. Generally, up until a few years ago, it was never a problem. We would simply walk east or west, find a nice place of sand, put our towels and our chairs down, and watch the kids play in the sun and go swimming in the ocean. That has become more of a problem in the last couple of years as the private property signs and the no trespassing signs have gone up and disallowed. So we'll go down to the beach now, and I'll kind of look to the sandy shores and Paradise by the Sea and see it populated by a whole bunch of no trespassing signs and very few people. And then our beach is full of folks. So I think customary use, I applaud the county's efforts at pushing forward with this. I hope you continue to do that. I'm a staunch advocate of it. I think a lot of the people in my neighborhood are, although I'm only speaking for myself. And I'm very thankful that you guys are doing that, and I hope you're truly successful in your endeavor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Actually, I do just want, sorry, 1 second. I do think it's unfortunate that the gentleman earlier was not able to take his full 3 minutes to finish what he was saying, representing a Walton County citizen, just because it apparently the Democrat. Sorry.
Good morning. Thank you for putting this on today. My name is John Inman, I-N-M-A-N. My wife Vicki and I reside in Albany, Georgia, and we are owners at 5185 North County Highway 30A. Closer, yes, ma'am. Just a couple of statements. I have nothing prepared today. We were blessed to be able to purchase this property in 2011. We went through a process of rehabbing our dune with DEP, multiple permits, multiple surveys. It did show all the way out to the high water mark was our line. We were blessed on May 13th of 2014 receiving a building permit to construct our home there, which is my family's home. We do not rent it. And I want to be clear, we're residents in Georgia. I'm a physician there. And we went through this process with multiple surveys for the county, with multiple blah, blah, down to the beach. When we purchased the land, the realtor was showing, gee, you have
you own all the way to the beach. So we assume there is value there, and I do truly believe there's value there. I really haven't decided where I come down on customary use until this past weekend. My son, and I'm not going to belabor this long at all, but my family was on the beach. He had moved his chairs with my daughter and a friend of my daughter's boyfriend, and a lady moved a chair up within 6 inches of my son's boyfriend. I'm sorry, my daughter's boyfriend. My son's married. For the record, he is married. He simply asked the lady to move out of their space. Literally, she is under the shade of the umbrella that he moved there. By the grace of where I live, there are always people at the beach walkover with cameras, photographing. Up until the last year or two, it was a delightful place to be. The last year has been miserable. We receive cat calls on our property when we're sitting up at the house. But nevertheless, I'm running short on time. But long and short of it is, my son's actions were recorded, put out on Facebook, totally inaccurate statements by a group that has spoken earlier here, none of it false. Fortunately, we've gotten this taken off of Facebook. I'm not sure exactly how it all happened. I appreciate whatever folks saw reason in this. I think the point I want to make is you've taken something that I come down here to get away from and enjoy my time and my family's time. We've been verbally threatened. The sheriff says there's nothing they can do to protect me unless an action is taken, and I'm concerned about the safety of my family and the peace we have. The community around us, we got to know the people on both sides of 30A. They are delightful people. We mean no harm. If you look in your records, you will see that we have never called the sheriff on anyone at all. Thank you for my time.
Thank you. Sir.
My name is Steve Ufelder. I live at 194 West Mitchell. I've been coming here since 1986. This is probably one of the most beautiful places in the world. And it also was one of the most friendly places in the world. And I think it's ironic we're meeting in a high school auditorium, because this would be a great civics lesson for our students in terms of why we're in this situation. Other counties aren't having these hearings right now, but we are. I think we should aggressively pursue the litigation in the circuit court. I think should approve your ordinance as soon as possible. And I also think that we should not give up on the Florida legislature and the next governor. I think that we should try to get this bill repealed. You all have hired 2 excellent lobbyists. I think that trying to go with the 2-prong approach would be a smart way to do this. Walton County has a lot of strong legislators, a lot of strong people, both in the legislative branch, and we all have friends in the executive branch. We also have friends in Congress that are very powerful. And I would hope that we could do it all possible to work with our lobbyists, our legislative delegation, and others that are going to be in this situation around the state to get this bill repealed so we have more than one option of bringing this community back together again. I thank you for your time and your patience, and I hope we can get this worked out and we can all leave together peacefully. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Celeste Cabina, C-O-B-E-N-A, 412 Hilltop Drive. I have customarily used the beaches of Walton County as a visitor since the 80s. I have used the beaches since 1991 as a resident. I also served on the county's customary use committee. And I have to say, without Tom McGee as our chair, it would have been mayhem. And I want to say that it ended up, for the first couple of meetings, it was basically a staring contest between, the beachfront property owners and the non-beachfront property owners. Tom McGee very wisely invited the sheriff to come speak to us. He came out and told us what he experiences on the beach from both sides. After that, we really got into some very meaningful discussions, and we made some excellent recommendations to the county, and I would suggest that the county revisit that committee's recommendations for their customary use ordinance. And I have to say that our community, it makes me very sad because I've lived here a long time, what's going on with the dissent in our community between neighbors. And that committee came together, and again, at first we were just staring at each other, there was no movement, but by the end we were sharing snacks. And I'd like to see that happen again in our community where we can work together, because I've spoken to many beachfront property owners that say, it's not that I don't want people on the beach, I just don't want these gypsy camps being set up and the rude behavior. So, you know, that's where your ordinance really needs to take that into consideration. And finally, I think if you want to look back at the real source of many, many problems in Walton County, including customary use, it is the overdevelopment and overpromotion of this area. And I think we need to go back and look at every decision you make or future commissions make, that how they are going to affect our community where we live.
Thank you.
I'm Ann Remmers, R-E-M-M-E-R-S. I've been coming to this area since 1956, and we built a home in 1975, and we've used the beaches down close to Stallworth Lake. I'm in Beach Highlands, so that's, and we walked through thorny bushes then, there's no walkover. But anyway, to make this short, Mr. Stallworth was the only man on the dune, and he'd lived there, I don't know how long, nice man, and on Stallworth Lake. So he was on it. And so he was upset because of the few people that were coming down then. And he felt he owned that property and that he should be able to have the beach as his part of being able to enjoy. And so he went to Tallahassee. He had a hearing at the court in the late 70s or early 80s. I don't know exact date, of course. And the ruling then was that the beaches were public. The beaches were public. He could not, they couldn't rule on what he wanted. So that's all I have to say. Maybe you didn't know that. And I think that's the way to go.
Hey, thank you, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Sherry Chase. I don't know if you can hear me. C-H-A-S-E, Chase the cat. I live at 778 Blue Mountain Road. I've homesteaded my beachfront property for 41 years. I've never had customary use, as you define it, on my property. I've always allowed people fishing, swimming, walking by, enjoying the beach. I would like to introduce my attorney, Wayne Williamson. He's from Santa Rosa Beach. He will be representing me in court opposing customary use. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning. It's still morning. My name is Wynn Parks, P-A-R-K-S. I live on Blue Mountain Beach. This time I've been there since 1990. My father was military. I'm a military brat. We came here originally in 1948. So I feel like I've got some skin in the game. I wanted to make a proposal to the commissioners because right here we've got probably 1/10 of the people who were there. These are the winter soldiers here. And I would like to ask or propose that the the videos of this meeting be mounted on YouTube so that all the people who had to leave before this will have a full 1 hour, 1 hour and a half of this meeting. You can get them right over here. They're being recorded. Please mount it on YouTube so we can see what happened to the crowd by the constant taking breaks, rules of order, or whatever the process has been. I write for the Beachcomber magazine. I'm a freelance contributor to that. If you want to see something that marks the progress of this issue here in the county, go to last summer's Beachcomber and look for the article entitled "The Beach Masters Are Coming." I think it will refresh people's memory about the violence and the conflagration that was set over on Blue Mountain Beach in about '98, stemming from this very issue. I stand with customary usage. One thing I wanted to say before I'm done is that the lady who talked about overdevelopment had a point. Every resort area goes through a period where it's the thing to do. All you got to do to see it in fast motion is to look at the progress of the spring break. It was where the boys are to begin with, then it was Panama City, now it's somewhere else. If we go to developing over what we can handle in the long run, we're going to end up with a resort ghetto here. Prices will go down on rentals, and then, thank you very much, that pretty much gets it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I believe on to the right.
My name is Debbie Hardman, Hardman. My husband and I own a beach house at 174 South Wall Street. It's not a beachfront. It's about 5 houses up from the beach. My husband's aunt came to Inlet Beach area in the late 1950s. My husband was 9, 10 years old on his first trips here. His aunt bought at different times. She owned 7 different homes at Inlet Beach. And today, my husband and I own one of those homes, and my brother-in-law owns one right beside it. We've come down here with our kids, now our grandkids, my husband's family, his grandmother. 5 generations of our family have been able to enjoy Inlet Beach and Seacrest and some of the other areas here. I just want to speak on behalf of the property owners who do not own beachfront property. On Wall Street, you go straight into stairs leading down to the beach. There are about 8 homes on either side within walking distance of where we would set up our chairs to stay on the beach. If those 8 homeowners all decided that they were going to enforce the private property, we'd have maybe as much room as your tables right there. There are 4 different blocks that feed into South Wall Street that go to that area. These people, like us, have paid property taxes on this property, and now we're being told, well, we should just load up our cars and our children and grandchildren and go to the public beach areas. And we're talking 50, 60 homeowners in this area, in the little Walton County area of just our beach access, not the other inlet beach accesses, that would be asked to leave while 8 houses took over our whole entire beach. We just want to support customary use and ask you to please consider this. Thank you.
My name is Eddie Mitchell, 1040 Pelican Circle. I also have a house at 350 Sandcliffs Drive on 38. I want to commend the county for buying up property. I know in the last several months, a year or whatever, they've been buying up property on the beach. I feel like we need to raise taxes for all of Walton County and buy property on the beach. That way everybody participates and the county ends up, doing what needs to be done. At Sandcliffs Drive, it's a non-rental community. It's a community preservation. I've had to sue the county, literally sue the county in the past year, spent an enormous amount of money. The county spent an enormous amount of money trying to prevent a beach club from being put next to my property. I'm talking about right against my beachfront house. And it just doesn't. David DeFuriak, your attorney, represented the developer that was doing this. Then all of a sudden, David DeFuriak was representing the county who was backing up the developer. Now I've got David DeFuriak representing y'all, trying to do what I've already spent 2 years overcoming and getting worked out. And now here I am faced with it again. You're trying to basically take my property again. One of my questions to y'all is, everybody needs to understand, are y'all trying to commercialize Walton County beaches? I don't mind people walking up and down the beach, taking Jeeps and pulling people down the beach. That doesn't bother me. But when I've got a situation where people are calling up and getting umbrella people to come out and, turning the beaches into a commercial endeavor, then I've got a problem with that. And I think y'all need to look at this as how much are y'all planning to take people's property? Is it to let people walk down the beach, to let them put a towel on the beach and lay down? Or is it to have them where they can call up, rent umbrellas, and then come out? If y'all would, please take a serious look at that. Thank you.
My name is Janet Reeves, and I live in Miramar Beach, Florida. We've lived here for over 50 years, and in that time, we've been sued by Hidden Dunes condominiums trying to take away our right to go to the beach. We did win that case. We've had things happen over the years that told us that this was coming, but I guess I just want to say that we've heard beachfront owners say today, that they own to the beach and that they own to the mean high tide line. Well, the definition of beach is dry sand and wet sand. The rest of it's water. So, yes, I agree, they own to the beach, and they own to the mean high tide line. And I don't think a lot of people understand what the mean high tide line means. The mean high tide line is where the vegetation stops growing. We've lived here long enough to see the hurricanes take the beach away, and we've seen it give beach back, a lot of beach back. So it is a moving target. And so I don't think we disagree with the beachfront owners, but the problem is that while the county builds more and more accesses to the beach, what do you do when you get down to the beach if all you have on each side of you are private beachfront homes that say that you can't be there? Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hey there, I'm Janie Rose, ROSE. I'm a 5th generation of Walton County, and I've never been so passionate about this issue. I am so customary use. My grandmother had the first beach house, Gulffront house at Blue Mountain Beach. Mr. Holly lived across the street with the first Minute Market. You could get Vienna sausages and crackers and such. I don't think that we had any of these issues until the first private beach sign went up. People were not angry at each other. They were just sharing what God's given us. Tony talked about water skiing behind a Jeep. I probably was driving that Jeep, and we all needed to get tetanus shots before we got in that Jeep, but we had such a good time, and everybody got along. And now it's like, you know, you walk a foot and you're being yelled at that you're going to be arrested. Well, I've already reached out to a lot of friends, because if that's going to happen, I'm going to need some bail money. Thank you all for all of your support, and let's win this for my grandchildren and their grandchildren. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vicki Inman, and my address is 5185 30A. And I am speaking in reference.
Can you spell your last name for me?
Inman, I-N-M-A-N. And I am speaking first in reference to the incident that my husband spoke of earlier. It was absolutely ridiculous, and I think all of you would agree that a group of Walton County residents came, camped out on our land, and it was staged. That would be like any of you walking to the grocery store and having your picture taken and something made up completely wrong. Everything that was put on Facebook, shared 145 times, just humiliating remarks and this is Walton County. The majority of them are Walton County residents that caused this and staged it, and it wasn't the first time that it's happened. What does customary use really mean? Does it mean that we own the property and you can't use it? No. We've always allowed people to use our property. We have never asked anyone to get off of our property, and we have never called the sheriff to ask them to handle any situation. However, last weekend we called them 4 times to come to our property, which is just ridiculous that we even had to do that, but we couldn't even handle it. Yes, my son did talk to the security guard next door, ended up calling the chair rental people to get them to come move the chair over a little bit, not even off of our property. We just wanted it moved a foot or two. And she cussed and she raved and she went on. And of course, all the while the pictures were taken of my son and us. Even our tax card was posted on Facebook for everyone to see.
I was quoted. Anyway, enough of that. The point being that 3/4 of the people here this morning have talked about using the beach, being able to ride horses, being able to walk from one end to the other. Yes, they can do that. They can still do that. However, customary use is not going to solve the problem. It's just going to create more problems because we have no control over what's going to happen in our own backyard. Just because we own it doesn't mean that we're not allowing other people to use it. We invite people from across the street to come over. I love talking to them. I love making friends with them. We don't want just us sitting out there in the backyard or on the beach, just ourselves, you know, that's just no fun. But anyway, I'm sure the right thing will happen, and hopefully customary use will not have to be implemented. We can just all be happy and get along with one another and be able to use everybody's beach without something like this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Heather Rakowski, Rutkowski. I live in Santa Rosa Beach. I'm currently on the north side of 98, but I used to live in Dunallen right beside Oyster Lake. I grew up in Louisiana, and from the time I was able to actually put on a bikini, my parents brought me between Fort Walton and Panama City because these are the prettiest beaches in the world. When I was old enough to make adult decisions and graduated from college, I moved to Florida because that's where I wanted to go. That was my happy place. I unfortunately moved to Daytona because I assumed all of it looked like this. I immediately moved over here because it obviously does not. But part of the appeal is the hospitality, the mentality. It's a very welcoming, beautiful community, and it is like walking on powdered sugar, not little broken shells that cut up your feet. I loved it so much that I shared it with my boyfriend at the time, who was from Pittsburgh. We got married on the beach in what is now Frangista. His parents loved it so much they moved here. My family moved here. We've all moved here. We actually had jobs that moved us to other parts of the state, and it was a better cost of living. It was more financially suitable for us, but we still came back here because we love the beach. It's therapeutic for me. Not walking in the water part because that's really uneven and that actually hurts my hips and back and neck. But just being able to appreciate God's beautiful creation and feeling a sense of connection to an area is something that you can't put a dollar amount on. Unfortunately, our area was overdeveloped. We were here when the bubble burst. We lost everything. We've rebuilt, and in that time, I have seen gross overdevelopment. Hindsight is, of course, 2020. So what do we do now? I can appreciate both sides of the argument, but what I can't appreciate is the fact that my dreams are still valid, even if they're in a smaller tax bracket, and cannot afford to take this as high as it will go to ensure that I can actually walk on sand and not disturb anyone, commune with the Lord, and just appreciate the fact that I'm lucky enough to be here. That's all. That's all I want to see happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Doyle Reeves, R-E-E-V-E-S. I've lived here. I'm one of the old timers since 1955. I grew up on the beach here. My grandkids have grown up. My children have grown up here on the beach. And I, too, over the years, have used the beach in lots of different ways, from driving a Jeep down the beach to fishing off the beach. One time I had a dune buggy. I could ride the beach. So I know it back when it was a pleasant thing to be here. Before the people who came in here now, they came here because they liked the area, and now they want to control the beach. And I applaud each one of you for the customary use. I have many, many experiences over the beach. I could travel the whole area and not see anybody for years and years. And like my wife said before, we had to fight a lawsuit, which one of the resorts was trying to keep us off the beach, and we did win that lawsuit. So if you need that case, in your fight, we'd be glad to give that to you. Anyway, I support the customary use, and I applaud each one of you for what you're doing today.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name's Gerald Ludwig, Ludwig. I live at 11 Milestone Drive in Let Beach. And I think today has been a very good day to hear both sides. My eyes have been opened up to many of the owners who live on the beach who are against customary use. The main thing that they're against is, I guess, the misuse by some very small percentage of individuals who are misusing the right to use the beach. And I think there's a way to get this solved because the consequence to this county, if this problem is not solved, is you're going to see the end of this county. This is a financial catastrophe that is in the making. And I don't know if a financial study has been instigated, but this will start a downward spiral that will not end. Property will go down, property taxes then will go down. The county is based on a budget based on the taxes that it is collecting now. If it is collecting less taxes, less services, it's a spiral that will not stop. So I beg you, fix this problem.
Unless there's others, this gentleman appears to be the last one in waiting. I'm going to make one more announcement after he speaks. If there's anybody else, this is the time to get it done today. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Roark, R-O-A-R-K. My wife and I live at 300 Casino Garden Circle, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. I am a PTSD survivor. I moved here to live out the rest of my life and enjoy what God's natural resource provides me. I am a military veteran. My job was death notification and casualty assistance. The beach provides so much more than just something to look at. Its natural wonders provides unbelievable health benefits. But here's my challenge to the board, is that something has to be done to solve the problem now. The problem is us humans. We're give an inch, take a mile. We have to enforce the code that has been set forth over time. To the best of my knowledge, the codes are not being enforced. We have to make sure that the humans do what is necessary to take care of the beach, to several other comments. So a lot of the homeowners, the problems are around the humans. Not the humans walking across the beach, not the humans enjoying the beach, the humans urinating on the beach, the humans doing extracurricular activities on their property. We need to enforce the code as it is written today. We also need to pick up the trash. The trash is overwhelming the beach. It's disgusting. It's unsafe. It's unsanitary. I understand the reasons for the trash collection to stop, but something has to be done to immediately start those services back up again and make sure that code enforcement is seen, is visible on the beach for our tourists and guests. There's only a fraction of the people that are causing the problems. We've got to eradicate that fraction from our community. We moved here, we visit here for many different reasons, but I thank you for your efforts. I certainly support customary use. I am a small business owner now. I own property, and we just love it. It's paradise to us, so hopefully paradise can be restored. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service.
Mr. Chairman, I hope you'll indulge me for one more minute. Colleen Castile, you have my earlier information. The property owners who have come to say that they own their property down to the mean high water are absolutely accurate. But that mean high water line is not one line. It is a line that has been created under the Coastal States Organization law, the Coastal Protection Act. and developed over a several-year period. I actually think that David Theriak and his partner are very well versed in this and have done many white papers on it. But for the public's knowledge, the mean high water line is determined over a 19-year period. And it started from when we were going to be protecting public property and also doing a lot of beach renourishment to determine exactly where the property lines are. So, you know, I will make a better presentation on that in the November meeting, but I just wanted to make sure that we got that on the record.
Okay, all right. Is there anyone other than the ones that's already spoken want to come forward and make a statement at this time? Being none, the next time we'll meet on this matter will be November 3rd at 9 o'clock, probably right here if we can secure it. But anyway, that's where we are. I have a motion to...
So move. And can we do anything to get security to move? You know, do we need to add another station, or could we look into that to see if there's anything we could do to get people in here faster as well?
Well, we'll leave that up to Gary to take it up with his staff and see if we need additional checkpoints.
Yes.
No, I asked Bobby to go out there, and it helps speed the process up. We'll just see what we can do. Gary, if you and the major look at that. Thank you.
Yeah, and y'all do a great job. It's just we're not used to this large crowd.
Did I have a second? We stand adjourned. Thank you for attending.